What's going on, guys? I got a really cool deck profile for y'all. It is a Runick Chimera deck. I've seen this running around out there. It lost popularity for some reason. I know what you're trying to say, because it's not good. I beg to differ, especially right now in this format. I think you'd be better off playing this than pure branded. Than pure branded Chimera. Now, branded Bestial is probably still better. But I think this is better than just the traditional branded Chimera deck, definitely. So let's take a look. Everything's gonna be pretty standard. So we're gonna have 3 Codal. We're gonna have 3 Mirror Swords Knight. We're gonna have 3 of the Gazelle, and we're gonna have 2 of the Baphomet, and that's it for the Chimera. The Chimera stuff. We're gonna have 2 Fallen of Albaz. Well, I say that's it. 2 Chimera Fusion. Tempted to play 3 because you don't want them to get banished. We're gonna play 3 Branded Fusion. So the way you look at Branded Fusion in this deck is, if it resolves, it's just a bonus. It's not something you depend on in this deck, but it's a good thing to have and a good thing to put a lot of pressure on the board. If they have a hand trap, it forces them into it. You have to ash the Branded Fusion, especially going first. Like, if I'm going first and I do Branded Fusion, and you have an ash there, and you don't ash there, that's really not a good play. I don't care, unless you know what I'm playing. If you know what I'm playing, then it may not be as good of an idea, because as soon as you do that, I'm about to get out the Runick Fountain and do all those plays. So we're gonna run 2 Fountain because we can't run 3. But guess what? We run 5. That's why we run 5. So you can't run 3, so you just run 5. But Runick tip, it can pretty much search any Runick card, so it's really handy. So you can't necessarily brick on it. 3 Freezing Curses. Target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. This is really good, and this one banishes 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. Runick cards just put a ton of pressure on boards. Flashing Fire, target 1 special summon monster, and then you destroy it, and then you banish 2 cards off the top of your opponent's deck. And now we're going to go 3 Runick Destruction. No, I'm sorry. 2 Runick Destruction. Runick Destruction, target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy it, then banish the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. They all do different things. It's hard to keep up with. But anyways, now we're going to do 1 Runick Slumber. Runick Slumber, target 1 face-up monster on the field. This can protect your monster, basically. Banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So that's a pretty good banishment. Runick Golden Droplet. This is the one your opponent draws 1 card. I'm not crazy about this one, but then you can banish 4 cards off their deck. This one's dangerous because what if they draw into Nib or something, which Nib's not really an issue with this deck. You're not going to be falling into Nib very much, or you shouldn't be with this deck. It can happen, but if they got it, they got it. But anyway, that's it for the Runick spells. And one thing about this deck compared to other Runick builds is it can actually run hand traps. So we have 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Droll. These are the most impactful hand traps this format, in my opinion. 2 Impermanents. So what does our deck lose to? Ash, Droll, Imperm, and Valor, but a lot of people aren't running Valor anymore. So we run 2 Cross Out and 1 Called By. If you want to roll the dice, you could take these 3 out and put in more hand traps. So right now you're only running 8 hand traps. You could bump it up to 11, which those ratios still don't really work out that much in your favor. You would be likely to open up with at least 1 hand trap. With this, you're not as likely to open up with a hand trap. But the hope would be to open up with one of these. If they draw you Called By, cross out, whatever you got to do. But with Runick, you're drawing so much stuff. So you know, if you draw this, if you draw all of this is going to be follow up with the way things are. You know, you can have the cross out set up for next turn. You can have the call by set up for next turn. Could you imagine drawing 3 hand traps? That would be insane. You just never know with the Runick deck. It's all about draw power and getting rid of your opponent's cards. And most decks just don't have the capability to get stuff back into the deck when it's banished. So, well, I say most decks. A lot of decks right now do, but they're not going to be able to get back 20 cards. You get what I'm saying? So now let's look at some combos and some test hands. Oh, first, let me show you this extra deck. I don't know what I was thinking. The extra deck, I'm playing the Jerry, because it's a beast. The Frecky, because it's a beast. I decided to max out on the Hugin, because, number one, this protects. It protects your fountain. And, which one? There's 2. This is the one that, if another card you control would be destroyed, it's any card you control. So it protects. And you can kind of quick play it. So it's really interesting. You can quick play to protect, and it really helps. So I would run that many. We're gonna run one of the newer Baphomet Fusion. We're gonna run 2 of the Phantom Beast, because you need to be able to get back into these, set up your graveyard and all that. And this is a hand rip, so you know you're hand ripping, you're negging their deck, and with the reason we run the other guy is so we can get this guy back. Just keep rotating them. They kind of rotate each other. 2 Guardian Chimera. Again, as soon as they're doing something, you know, they start pressuring your board. Just fusing Guardian Chimera, pop 2. This one is going to be good. Just, you know, if sometimes you can run into 2 branded fusions, and you know you just need another target. So this, just to get our, depending on what we have in hand, this can start our Chimera plays. Mirror J is just a really good form of removal. And Dragostapelia, normally a super poly target, very rarely used for super poly targets anymore. It's more used in the branded decks. This card could probably be a 3rd Guardian Chimera, but I don't know how often that would come up. So now let's do some combos and test hands. Alright guys, I've just shuffled the deck. Just so y'all don't believe me, I'll give it a little bit more. Some of y'all might not believe me, you know. Anyways, alright, let's cut it. Let's do some test hands, and we'll just do a combo with a test hand. And I'll kind of give you some theory behind it. Okay, so we drew one of the bricks, and we drew double hand traps. So, yeah, probably should have shuffled a little bit better than that. We got 2 Runick names in hand, which is good. So, in this case, let me show you something cool that we can actually do. So, we're forced to use, I'd probably use, depending on, if you know your matchup, you may want to keep one or the other, but I'd activate this, go ahead and special summon the Hugin, discard, Hugin effect, you know, discard to grab the, we're going to grab the, where's it at? The fountain. Okay, so curses will go to grave. Runick Fountain, Runick Fountain, I'd go ahead and activate the Runick Fountain, honestly. Just, you know, because you kind of want to, you want to put pressure on the board anyway, and plus we'll be able to draw 2. So if we want to. Now we're going to go ahead and tribute the Hugin. This is not what we want to do, but it's something that we kind of have to do here. Now we're going to add ourselves off its effect. We're going to add a Chimera Fusion and this. And this is simply so we can get our play set up with the Chimera stuff. And this is something you wouldn't be able to do with other decks. It's just not typical. So we would fuse these two with the Chimera Fusion going into this chain 1, chain 2 Gazelle to add. Now we're gonna add, I would probably add the Swords Knight. Well, no, I would add the Codal. That way you get the Codal in the grave. And then we would, that would be it. So now we would add back the Chimera Fusion. So here's what our hand looks like now. We'd activate the Codal, get that engraved. Mirror Swords Knight. So we have an option here. We have our Guardian Chimera play, and we have our Runick stuff set up. So your hand's not terrible here, but it's not the best by no means. You're gonna have your negates at least, but that's kind of the problem here. You're kind of stuck, so you'd have to set this. You have 2 monsters in hand. You do have targeting negation set up, and then you have Runick Fountain. You can also get the Hugin next play, and then you can, if you activate Runick quick play spell card, you can target up to 3 quick play spells, blah, 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 draw 2. So I would just pass turn. I would go ahead, and as soon as they special summon a monster, you know, destroy it with flashing fire, trigger the fountain, I mean, of course, as you gotta know when to do these things. So here, this is actually pretty good because we drew a golden droplet. Your opponent draws 1 card, then you banish the top 4 cards of their deck. This is kind of a dangerous one, but you know, depending on what they're playing, you may need your Droll. You know, you may need it here. Activate Droll. In this case, I would probably go ahead and activate Runick Golden Droplet if you need it, if you burn up all your other negations. Special summon another Hugin, or you can one of these other two, depending on what you need at the time. But the Hugin protection effect is going to be really good here. Now, you know, pass turn. Now you have your Guardian Chimera play live. So if you need that, let's just see what that would look like. So we do this if we have to. Pop 2. We'll do the pop 2, draw 1. That's going to be hard for them to beat over. We'll draw 1. So we drew an Ash. So the issue with this hand is we don't have a lot of follow-up. You know, and we would draw for turn. We just don't have a lot of follow-up with this play. And we can't attack because of that. But we would have triggered the King of the Phantom Beast to special summon back out 1 Beast Fiend or Illusion monster. So we would have special summoned back out that last turn. So at least we could go quick effect. Sorry, I didn't think about that. I haven't played Chimera in a little while. We would bring back out the Baphomet effect. We would add ourselves another Chimera Fusion and another Gazelle. Now we could really get right back in the action. Activate Chimera Fusion, these two. Now we're really cooking because we can go back into another card rip if we need that. Card rip. Chain 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Special summon back out this. Add another illusion. Add another illusion. Activate just to get that engraved. Add that to hand. Add this back, and this would rip a card. So, although we couldn't go for game here like we would normally want to. We couldn't do that because we are under the Runick, you know, stuff. But we have 5 cards in hand. We have a cross-out designator. We have an Ash Blossom. We have a call by. So, you know, you probably set the called by, set the Chimera Fusion. You know, go into the next turn. You would have all that over again. But typically, you're going to put your opponent in such a negative position, you know, even getting to the next turn, and we draw another Runick card, Runick Destruction. No matter what, you know, if we want to use this, we can, or we could go for battle in this turn. You know, everything's still on our board. Depending on what we'd have to use, you know, if we had to make another Guardian Chimera, that's fine, because we do have that option. We have a lot of different options here. But then the next turn, you can just simply do your Runick stuff, the Runick shenanigans again, activate the destruction. You can special out a Hugin, but then you can put these on the bottom, draw 2, and then you literally got another Runick card. You could activate this. It's just, it never ends with the Runick stuff. It's just really cool.